like I was saying, I think we can keep on going and maybe even like split it into two episodes. I don't
Yeah.
know, just whatever, keep
Or we'll
on
see.
keep
We'll
on
see
keeping on.
once we go back and check the edit and find out how many times we said, "Oh no, we can't put that in there."
Sure, sure, that's true, that's true. There's
Yeah.
a lot of cut
There's like 10
material,
minutes of material.
right? Hi, everybody. Welcome Offstage. I'm Joseph, and I'm here with my friends Miranda and Jason, scenic designer based in Knoxville, Tennessee. He also works a lot in film and TV, and we're gonna chat it up. Stick around. Cue the intro. I was wondering. I was talking to Miranda before you got here, and I was telling her how unusual I think your journey as a Navy man into the arts is, and I was wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about that. I was telling Miranda that I had worked with a couple servicemen that were one of them was a sound designer in Norfolk,
Yeah.
in Norfolk, Virginia, and they used to take licenses to go tech a show, and then they had to like run back to the base to be there at 6 a.m. in the morning, and it was kind of like insane because they were also like in charge of the like the army orchestra or whatever shit that was.
Yeah.
So that's I didn't know those positions existed, right? Like I didn't know that like you could be a sound designer and a military man, but then again, you are a Navy man or were a Navy man and then turn into an artist, or were you always an artist? I don't know. You wanna tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'll tell you with sound people, I've actually known a few guys who are excellent musicians who went in the military and they joined the band because
Mm-hmm.
those guys, I mean, they've got to, like, they basically just travel around and play. It's like being in a band and you have rank and you got to keep your hair cut. But the fringe benefits are awesome. If I could play an instrument, I would have done that.
But you still have to go like to
I
the
started
whole like
drawing,
you
which
still
was a
have to do
mistake.
like boot camp and shit just
Yeah.
like to be a trumpet player, right?
No, you absolutely do. I mean, you're not going to get out of that.
Sure.
Well, actually, if you're very rich or very smart, they'll just give you a rank at some point and send you to
Really?
like
Okay.
a few week officers class. But for most people, yeah, you're going to definitely have to go through boot camp. Um, no, my journey. I mean, I was when I was in college before I joined the Navy. I mean, I took a lot of art classes and anthropology. In fact, for a while, I was bouncing back like, am I an anthropologist or am I an art major? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So that was always fun. And when I went to the military, I did have chances to do artwork sometimes. I found that I didn't, like I look back at some paintings I did and they're okay. I look back at drawings and the cartoons are really funny. Like I do a bunch of good cartoons, but if I was trying to draw anything realistic, I think I actually regressed a little bit just from
Mm,
lack of practice.
sure.
But the great thing is then you get out of that environment, you're going back to school, and the big advantage is you can actually wake up at 6 a.m. and get things done, which was really hard in my 20s. But, I get to that point, and like my art level, it just exponentially went up. So I was at a certain level in college, joined the Navy, and it did go down. It regressed. There were some things I wasn't very good at. And then as soon as I get out and I'm working with materials, it's like this explosion of art, which was kind of fun.
Was it
Uh,
was it during your tenure in the Navy that you decided that you want to go into the arts, or had you known that before, or?
Actually, so and this was stupid because I should have done it. But I was sitting there, and they came out with this post 9/11 GI Bill, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going back to college, and I was looking at civil engineering, and
Okay.
then I looked at the job prospects for civil engineers, and the forecast was that we were not going to need a lot of civil engineers, and I looked at the pay scales, and they're the least paid, engineer, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh well, it's a whole lot of work for nothing. But in my head, I'm thinking, no way, America's about to fall apart.
Right.
And then I get out, and of course, America's falling apart, because, yeah, this great bridge, it was built 100 years ago. Guess what? That bridge was built 100 years ago. Maybe we need to start thinking about replacing it. And so that's what's going on now. So I think they were off on their job prospects, the forecast. Um, but no, really, when I went back, part of it was I was a horrible student. And so I had failed some classes that I should not have failed. But if you're under a certain number of hours, I could retake them, and the grade would replace
Mm.
it. so, so I went from like a 2.8 GPA up to like a 3.6 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, but I had to take a lot of classes to do that. Now, some of those classes were art and theater classes and things like that.
So even when you graduated in 2012, you still weren't you weren't an arts major. You were an anthropology major.
So I wound up, and it could have been 2010 when because I went back for my undergraduate. I was going to get a separate degree in art
Yeah.
history, another bachelor's degree. I'm like, okay, and it really wasn't. Part of it was like I, if I'm using my GI Bill, I'm getting a monthly living stipend.
Hmm.
So, and if I'm having problems finding a job at Toys R Us, I mean, this is an immediate concern.
Yeah.
So no, but when I graduated, my primary major was printmaking. It was art
All right, that's
with a
true.
concentration in printmaking, and then time based art, and then the secondary major was in anthropology.
So you took time-based art, printmaking, and anthropology and stirred them all together and got set design.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because it's time based art. I mean, theater is time based art. So, yeah, it's kind of a roundabout course, but there's been times when it's worked out for me. So I was at one of my previous positions teaching. I had a student who was she was actually a really good stage manager. Like if you're a very good stage manager, you can actually find a job with a bachelor's degree. You know, so she was wanting to continue in the major, but her parents were very anti theater, and so she asked me. She's like, "Hey, our parents' day was coming up," and she's like, "My parents, they're really not into theater. They're very conservative. They're not about the liberal arts, whatever." And she's like, "I'd love for them to meet you." And she's like, "Could you play up the military thing?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course I'll do that." So I'm like, "Just tell me what time you're going to bring them by for the tour." And she's like, "Well, I'll be by about 1 o'clock." So I had my office door open and I hung up all my medals and a bunch of like pictures of me and doing. And they come in. And I even put on cowboy boots for that one. That was great. They come in and she introduces me and I start talking and, talking her up and everything. And afterwards they were like, okay, well, because I think in their head they're imagining a certain type of person in theater. They're like, oh no, we're not having this, and then they're like, okay, well, so that
I'm glad
was,
I
it was kind of funny. I'm like, boom, this actually was worth something.
It's one of those things of like, because I grew up in a family that doesn't like I am the weird one in my family, right? Like there's nobody else who does theater or like really art. Like there's some crafty folks in my family, but like not like super fine artists or anything. Um, and so like sometimes it's just the like parents and family understanding that like it's not all that stereotype of the actor, right? Like there's a whole
Yeah.
world of people who make this happen and like a multi-billion-dollar industry that exists. And it's like if you've never seen it, like how would you know?
Yeah, oh yeah, and it's well. I had another student, and his stepfather had been a submarine commander. So when I met him, I mean, we kind of hit it off, both Navy. But then and he was a little skeptical, I think. But then I'm showing him the stuff that he's learning, with this theater degree, and he's learning how to build stuff, and he's learning how to paint stuff, and you know, he's learning how to use a laser cutter, and there's all this practical stuff that he's learning, but while also learning critical thinking, and how to analyze things. And all of a sudden, he was like, and I think that was the thing. To him, it was like, oh, you're just learning how to act. You're just learning to do this. But then he's like, wow, you're learning a lot of practical things that you kind of need. And it's worth noting, like, you got somebody like, and I never understood this before I went into theater, but, when you hear, like, Harrison Ford was building cabinets for George Lucas, and, and you're like, why was he building cabinets? This is because he'd been to summer stock and he knew how to build stuff. Yeah. And he's, at that time he's in, L.A., Hollywood, and he's just looking for jobs to supplement his income from acting. And it's like, well, I can build stuff.
Yeah.
So, because otherwise, if you don't know anything about theater, you're sitting there reading that, and it's like, I wonder why he was a cabinet maker.
Yeah. I used to have, back in Richmond, I used to have theater majors, right? That all they wanted was to go into acting. And they're like, why do I need to, like, take this stagecraft class? I was like, dude, learn how to paint a flat, and you'll never be out of a job in the theater, like, ever. Like, if you know how to do a basic scumble, you'll work anywhere, and then you can get your foot in the door, and then you can be part of the production, and then you can be anything. But the difference between being in theater 24/7, even as a painter or a carp, right, and having to work as a waiting tables and then apply, for auditions, that it's this technique right here. Yeah, there's one thing that you need to know. Sure.
Well, yeah, that's what it's. I don't know if it's a matter of, like, somebody needs to realize this at some point, but getting a degree in theater is actually just a great general purpose degree.
Yeah.
You know how to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's not like you also know critical thinking. You know how to analyze something. You know creative thinking. I mean, you do things that, things that normally you're just like, no, we would never. Why do we need to make a volcano again that shoot glitter?
Right.
Because that's what we have to do. And now we got to figure out how to use compressed air to, and these are the things that happen when you're in theater. Mm-hmm. But being able to work your way through that very abstract, artistic, like this, there's no practical application for this, but it means you can actually think.
Yeah.
Like wow. I mean,
it's creative problem solving. Yeah.
Yeah.
The skill of being able to be in the thick of a moment, recognize that something is going wrong in that moment, and correct for the thing that is going wrong without the client noticing is a skill that, like, upper level, like, management people learn in trainings. And it's like, that's what my freshman ASM is taught to do. Like, that's what you learn to do from day one, is like, the train is going to keep going. How do I fix it without anybody noticing?
Well, and then the deadlines. I mean, show me another major where, okay, I've got a test coming up in 2 weeks, so I need to study for it and things. But no, these are very real deadlines.
Non-negotiable. Yeah.
You get sick, that show still has to open. You've got to figure out how we're going to adjust for you being sick. I mean, the show has to go on.
Yeah, we were interviewing Christopher Oram at Santa Fe Opera. He's a UK designer, and I want to say he's an English designer. He'd probably hate that. But he does those fantastic, like, humongous sets, right? And he was telling us that he used to do this beautiful watercolor renderings in grad school, right? And Alex, the correspondent who was interviewing, was like, "And you don't do them anymore?" I was like, "No, I got deadlines. Like, this is not the time to get precious about my renderings. I gotta get the stuff done, right? So I can move on to the next project. So there's only an amount of time that I get to devote to this, and I have to solve it the best way possible." And so I have to come up with other ways of doing it, right? Like, this is not the time to, again, to go into the super, like, delicate minutia, right? Like, you had grad school for that, to really show off your skills. Now it's the time to just go. Not that they're any less valuable or any less beautiful for that, right? It's just you have to be super mindful of those deadlines.
So the beauty of theater is that moment that you realize that all these precious things that you're doing, all your little drawings, all your paintings, and it is precious to you, and you can sell it as art maybe, and that's great. But when it comes right down to it, it's just a communication tool.
Yeah.
And what's going up on the stage that's the art.
Yeah.
That's what all the other stuff is a byproduct of the art.
Yeah.
That, could be precious in its own sense, but also all those beautiful models that I built, and they took up so much space, and so I just cannibalized all of them. I'm like, okay, well, tearing this apart, don't need this, saving this floor because it's pretty, and I spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
So I'll show it to people as a good example of how to build a floor. I mean, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's the clearest for me with costume designers, right? Like I love a costume rendering. A costume rendering is a thing of beauty, right? And every now and again you get someone that doesn't feel like it's like they don't have their rendering game on lock. But still, the garment that you see on stage is very different from the rendering. No one ever gets to see it. But very few people get to see the rendering, right? Because what matters is what the actor is wearing and how it moves and how it... And that's also why it's so important that the shop understands or has the sensibility of like, oh, this is what you mean by this.
Well, I love costume renderings because you get the really dramatic ones where they're using obviously a very large brush and watercolor, and the whole thing looks like some flower or whatever. But that's absolutely not what they want. It's beautiful and the color's similar, but that's it.
Yeah.
Does the thing communicate what you need it to communicate, right? Like
exactly.
When it comes down to like paperwork, and it goes down to what we put on stage too, right? Like going back to the idea of the cabinets, like it is the thing on stage visually communicating what you need it to communicate? Is it telling the socioeconomic class of the audience? Is it relaying something about the theme or the tone of the show? Is it right? Each of those pieces is the drafting telling somebody what they need to know, right? Like drawing triangles on a napkin at the bar for where the lights are going to go is a light plot. It has a symbol. It is relative in space, and I understand what that means. And if I'm the person hanging those 10 lights, then I don't need anything more than those triangles on that napkin. And if I'm passing over 250 lights to somebody and I'm not going to set foot in the building until it's time to turn them all on and point them, then yeah, that document has to be a little bit more precise about how we talk about it. Yeah. But does the amount of work that goes into the tool needs to be equivalent to the amount of service that tool is providing in terms of communication?
And I think that's really interesting. I mean, so scenic designers, we have our sketches or whatever. Used to be, here's our model and things like that. Although that's changing a little bit. And the costume designers, they have their sketches. But then you have the lighting designer come in and they're basically selling you light.
Yes.
And if that's not a skill, I don't know. I mean, hey, look, I just sold this person light. And convinced them that this is totally great. And it's like, trust me, look, light.
I always feel like they're a little kind of like throwing their hands in concept meetings and like research, when they're showing research, because it's like, it's gonna feel like this. Like, it's not gonna look like this, but it's gonna feel like this. So you kind of like have to evoke the feeling in the director in order for them to be like, yeah, okay, show me what you got later in the game, right? But for now, I'm just gonna assume.
They come in with stained glass from Notre Dame or something, and this is what I'm thinking. And it's like,
right. Right.
Here are 18 photos of entirely unrelated things that are paintings that are just various shades of colors, and it's going to feel like this. What part of this? This.
Yeah, exactly. just believe it. Just believe
it. It's brilliant, though. I mean, have you seen that show about the making of The Godfather?
No.
Oh, you got to watch it. I can't think of it. It's the Offer, I think is what it's called. And absolutely phenomenal. It's like 7 or 8 episodes, and it's about all the stuff they had to go through when they're making The Godfather. And one of the things is Francis Ford Coppola is sitting there, and it's like, and this is what I want this movie to look like. And he's showing Caravaggio's. He's referencing Caravaggio. And it's this chiaroscuro, the light to dark gray. And people are like, what? Because at that point, if you watch gangster movies, in the early '70s, everything's so well lit, and everybody's
Yeah,
faces
yeah,
are always well lit, and still some very good movies.
yeah.
But you're like, man, I mean, this is like everybody always turns on the light when they go in,
Yeah,
or the lights are already on when they go home or something.
yeah,
And here's Coppola, and it's like you've got Marlon Brando, and he's barely showing his face. He's
yeah.
only showing one side of that, and you can hear it. I mean, like this is one of those moments where it's like, why do I have actors if I'm not going to light their faces? But look at what you're accomplishing.
Yeah.
This light dark mix, and so you watch it, and you're like, okay, I get it now. So when the lighting designer's sitting there going, well, here's a painting of this, and you're like, oh, okay, I see where this is relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I still hate that. That's my biggest complaint about theater is when it's like, well, I want to see the actors' faces.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a foreigner here, but that's a very American thing. That's a
I
very
hate it.
American thing where it's like I don't want any shadows on any faces, and you go to Germany and it's like one bulb just dangling, and like no one can know what the fuck is going on, and it just looks fantastic, and it's like so evocative, and it really hits you in the gut, right? But no one's worrying about that. But granted, it's a different machine. It's a different model, right? So I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but when you say, oh, like I want to see their faces all lit up. It's like, okay, so number one, so this is the scene in the dark at midnight, and their
Right.
faces lit up. Okay, that's weird. But
Sure.
also, like you're ignoring that play that shadow can have on your face. I mean, Marlon Brando, you look at him and you take a picture of him in, I don't know, some well lit room,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting face. It's Marlon Brando. But then you look at the Apocalypse Now
Yeah.
or The Godfather, and
Yeah.
the shadow. I mean, it really emphasizes his brow and his
Yeah.
nose and everything, like the cracks in his face, and you're like, God, this is perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now, that scene at the temple, right? You can barely see anything. You see the
Oh yeah.
eyes, and it's like, how is
And
this
he's just
guy like?
sponging his head.
Yeah, how's this guy going along with it, right? Like I naming no names, but I've had like there's been a photo call, right? And an actor complains and is like, how am I in only two of these photos? Like, dude, because you're not the lead, and it's not about you, but you're still there. I mean, like, it's not like look at how like dramatic this pictures are. Like, yeah, but I should have like an equal amount of photos as the other person. I was like, you're missing the point, dude. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I mean, on one hand, like I kind of get it, right? Like from a lighting perspective, right? When you're shooting for actors and you're shooting for costumes and you're shooting for set, you're not always thinking about shooting for lights. And so like I want to have six good photos too. I want to have six photos that look like we
Sure.
thought about what the lights looked like when we took them.
I don't know that that's. I mean, I'm gonna speak for myself, but I don't know that that's necessarily true because I feel like light is such a it's such a given in the sense that it has to be there, right? And at the same time, I would hate to take a picture of my set without lights. It's not gonna be the same. I remember us taking a class with Jean-Guy Lecat a million years ago, and the first question that the guy asked, shout out to Jean-Guy, was what is the most important thing in theater, right? What is the most important thing in theater design? And me being all fucking eager and wanting to please the guy, right? I was like, the scenery, maestro, of course. It was like, no, it's the light. If you don't have light, you don't see shit. So you gotta have light. So you gotta think about where your light is coming from and what it's doing with the objects before the objects exist, right? And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, yes, I get it. I mean, you might want to get a picture of every scene change of every lighting change that you programmed, but at the same time, it's like there is no way you can take a good theater photo without lights, without
Oh yeah.
stage lights on. I mean,
No, but you can take theater photos with stage lights on that are not thoughtful of the stage lights.
sure,
That are not
sure, no,
right. Like I've
absolutely.
seen lots of photos that like, yes, that is the idea of what the lights were doing, but the way that we captured that or the way that we edited that, we right? Like I see it a lot where like folks will try to like balance everything out, so they'll try to
Yeah.
eliminate the shadows that we put in intentionally because they're thinking photography, and so they're thinking, well, I need this to feel more even, and it's like, no, the lack of evenness was in fact the point. But
Right.
you can
Right.
edit lights right out of a photo to the point. There was one summer stack I did, and we got the photos back, and bless, it was a very kind, it was one of the board members, and he was a hobbyist photographer, and he offered to take the photos for free, and so they jumped on it. It was great. But we got the photos, and he put them all in Lightroom and just like batch,
Like blasted them.
default edited them, like ran up the gain, hit the magic wand, and said, "Great, done." And so the photos started going around, and I sent them to one of my friends who was on the show, and I was like, is this really what it looked like? Because if this is really what it looked like, I really need to go find another job now.
Right.
And it's that simple. It's like, oh yeah, no, you could totally see the set, you could see every costume, you could see every actor. But I had to go back and call that nice person and ask him for his raw files and re-edit them so that I could use them.
Yeah.
Because then that show went to Prague? I think that show was in Prague. Once we re-edited the photos and they looked like what they actually looked like.
Sure. It's kind of like the reason also why we all have that. I mean, I have to take that picture out of my portfolio a million times for a million shows, right? Where it's like you have the one spotlight moment, right? Where the actor is looking glorious into the one light, and it's like, I don't see my set, I don't see the lighting design, but this was such a cool moment, right? But you kind of like had to be there to understand what was happening emotionally in the tone of the play. But the picture just doesn't show that. It shows a person and a light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's one of those moments that's like canonic, right? Like if it's Hamlet holding
Sure.
the skull in the light, and it's like, okay, yeah.
But still, I mean, that picture is going to work for the costume designer and for the actor. It's not going to work for me. It's not going to work
It'll work
for
for
you.
the lighting designer.
Right.
Somewhat.
Maybe.
Marketing will love it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Marketing is going to blast the shit out of that, right? And it's going to be everywhere, and everybody's going to be looking at that picture. And somewhere in that theater, there was a set.
Yeah, I've had to cut those photos too.
Yeah, and
They
I
look
always
good.
keep them. I always keep them because it's like, oh, this is such a cool moment, and then I look at it like, this says nothing about my work or the work of anybody else in the theater. And if you weren't in the theater and you weren't watching the show, you don't get the emotional arc of why this is here. So I'm just gonna get it out.
So that actually sums up most of the photos I have of dance concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I do have some that show set, and props and things that I've designed. But when I look at them, I've got some beautiful ones. They're absolutely stunning, and I'm like, what is really the most stunning part of this photograph? It's the dancers,
Yeah.
and it's the lighting, and the set.
Sure.
Like, take away the set, it doesn't matter. It's like
Sure.
the dancers and the lighting are the dynamic part. But I still keep those in because they show the set. I'm like,
Sure.
okay.
And because they show the energy of the. I mean, I love dance photos, right? Because dance photos are so indicative of kind of like the motion and the energy of what's going on stage. I used to take a million years ago when I was starting, maybe. I used to take photos of the set just by itself, right? I would ask the lighting designer, hey, can you give me a look? I'm going to take a picture so people understand the set. And then after a while, I was like, no, fuck that. Like no one cares about that. You don't go to the theater to see the set. You go to the theater to experience the whole show, right? So after a while, I just stopped doing like even wider shots, right? Like my shots in my portfolio now are most of them just the marketing shots, the shots of the actors, looking real close. And yeah, you wanna look at the set. I mean, I'll send you some renderings, but I'm not gonna take a picture of the set. Who cares about the set? At least who cares about the set by itself, right? Not in the context of the action of the play.
Yeah.
Well, it's the visual communication tool, right? It's like the purpose of the photo is to visually communicate the work that we did, or the video if you're anywhere that is not the U.S. You have like evidence of what this was. But the more that right, so what are you saying? Am I saying I was a part of the overall storytelling and part of my work is in this and I helped contribute to this overall piece? Or are you saying, here, this was my piece, like irrespective of what everybody else was doing? And
Yeah.
that's a really big difference in how you're communicating, like who you are as a person and what matters, right? Like, yeah, like there were some moments that were really like kick-ass light cues, but like that's not the story, right? The
Right.
story is in these other places, and like if you were lucky enough to be in the room, you understood what that moment was in time.
Yeah. Yep.
I also think sometimes within the context of the play, I mean, provided people are familiar with it, I can put up a picture of a set, and what's the most important thing is maybe the lack of the set or how my set did not step on
Yeah.
anybody else's
Yeah.
toes.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
like I see some shows, and I think they kind of overdo it, and what was it? Oh man, All My Sons. Did All My Sons, and I loved. I mean, I came up with this idea for the set, and I liked it and everything, and it had meaning. I'm like, and it's I think beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very minimalist, and I didn't even have a house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know, I had posted it on a Facebook group, and then somebody commented, they're like, "Oh wow, that's really good," whatever. And then somebody from who actually wound up being from my hometown, they had done All My Sons, and if you look at it, like they actually had a very kind of spectacular set, but it's this big house right there on stage. And while it's impressive that they put that house on stage and admirable, it's not really a play about a house.
Right.
So I mean, sometimes, like if you're taking a script literally and you're reproducing that literally, I mean, yeah, it can still be impressive. But sometimes what you're trying to say with your set is like, look, I mean, we went in this other artistic direction.
Yeah.
And my lack of set was a choice.
Yeah.
And it's about
Yeah.
all of the pieces, right? Like sometimes you just get out of the way and let the performers perform, right? Like I can put a light cue on every beat of a song, and if there's no human on stage, that can be really entertaining to watch. But if you put a person on stage and it gets that busy, I'm no longer watching the person who is singing. I am
Yeah.
watching the lights that are flashing all around, and that's not helpful, right? It's not about me. It is about the choice. The selective choice is about when this is enhancing and when this is
Yeah.
detracting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you design for the show, like I love doing very detailed, I mean, there's a level of detail I truly appreciate in a set, and you kind of get to show off a little bit. It's like, oh look, these are candles, and they're not real, but they are. But also, we can't put fire on stage. But look, you think it's fire, and you're sitting 2 feet away. Wow, And so there's that cleverness, but also, sometimes you're reading the show, and it's like, it's not about me. I don't need to over design this. I don't. Maybe this show needs something a little more minimal.
Yeah. 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 When you're so focused on being the clever guy in the room, right? That shit is that's your downfall every time. Like every time when you're more worried about what people are gonna say about your part of the gig than the whole show.
Yeah.
That's when fucking shows go off the rails.
Well, and it's such I mean, I don't want to say it's like a beginner thing that you do.
It is. It really is.
It kind of is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to knock this one out of the park.
Yeah.
Off a little bit.
Again, not naming no names, but I mean, I get that with my students sometimes, right? Where you're like, you just want people to say what a brilliant designer you are, but this is not what this is about, right? Like, I mean, sure, I appreciate it, and it's a good idea, but it happens when the designer directs, right? Where like, and then they're gonna do this, and then they're gonna do this other thing, and then they're gonna do, and by the time the whole thing is gonna assemble into this magical picture, like, yeah, but then now you're asking the director to follow your instructions, right? Because if they don't follow your instructions, that your design doesn't work. So you're not designing as an offering, you're designing as an imposition.
But is there a middle ground that is
I think there is a middle ground.
Sure, there has to
that is
be.
not right? Like, because I think about that sometimes as somebody in a field that is considered, it's sometimes considered tertiary, right? Like, it's the director's vision, and then it's scenic and costumes vision, and then it is lights and sounds vision, right? And there are people who like will phrase it that way. Um,
I never
but
heard that before.
I often find that like I would think that it would be lonely at the as a director to be placed on that pinnacle to go, this is all resting on you. And it's like I don't want to
Sure.
come and make an offering to you. I want to come solve this problem with you. Like I want to have this dialogue of like, okay, so like we're all in it together.
Sure.
How do we solve the problem that's in front of us using the different tools that we are experts in using?
Sure. I mean, and that's, I mean, for me, that's the reason why you do a scene by scene, right? Like, I would always say, like, in this moment, I imagine this could happen, right? But in the end, I mean, I'm also, again, I believe in design as an offering, right? The idea of like, well, I'm bringing this to you so we can both play together with it. Not so I can tell you what to do, and not so you can tell me, oh, can we make that wall 2 feet shorter and green? Like, well, then why don't you design it, right? I don't know.
No, I agree. But also, when you're designing something, you are kind of tracking pathways through it. I mean, you're giving suggestions just by what you have or don't have.
Sure.
They can ignore those suggestions, but
Sure. No, I mean, yes. In the end, if you put a step unit somewhere, people are gonna step through it, right? So the people are gonna go
right,
up it. So you are kind of like defining the transit pattern. You're defining the paths. You're defining a lot of things. But still, I think there is something as Jason was saying, as over designing where you're like, and then every person is gonna grab a piece of the set and they're gonna assemble it into the face of whomever, right? And like, yeah, okay, but what if the director had a different idea, right? I
right.
mean, like you can suggest that. You can always bring it to the director and say, I imagine this would be a cool moment. But you cannot say, in order for my design to work, you had to see that the face of Charles Chaplin was in the set the whole time, right?
But how cool that would be.
That
Now
Yeah,
would
it
I
be
would be
want
cool.
cool.
that to happen.
You got to lead with that very early.
Exactly. But yes, that's
What do
the
you
other
think?
thing. That's the sell. That's the selling of the design.
It's like I'll still do illustrations of different scenes. Now I don't do it. I mean, actually, when I'm on a deadline and I'm being paid and stuff like that, it's
Being paid.
I'm and it's like, especially freelancing, it's like all my deadlines are real quick deadlines.
Sure.
So I mean, it's just like boom, I've got to get it done. But if I've got the time, I like to just kind of imagine different scenes, and I kind of did that sometimes in grad school, and I just draw out the scene. Now, to be fair, in those illustrations, I'm making a few suggestions.
Sure.
You don't have to take them, but if I'm drawing somebody, say, sitting on next to a window on a
Yeah.
window bench, that's the way I want that window to look. But I'm drawing them, and I'm drawing light coming in through that window, and obviously I'm putting them wearing clothes, so I'm actually
Sure.
kind of throwing out some suggestions there. But I don't
I
know
got.
that that's terribly
Okay.
fair sometimes.
I mean, I guess that as long as you do it consciously and kind of like caring for other people's work. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's one of the things that happened to me at some point. I was doing like I always put like figurines in my renderings, right? And I used to put them clothed, like clothed.
Yep.
Is that clothed? Yeah. So and then after a while, one or two times, not like every time, but I would get the directors going to the costume designer and be like, no, I want something like that, right? Because of course I'm composing the set with the colors of the costume and whatever, but then that's an imposition on the costume designer. So I just decided like I'm gonna do blank figurines. I know it's gonna look a little off and it's gonna take you a little bit out, but I'd rather do that than dictate to the costume designer what they should do, right?
Exactly, and I had to catch myself doing that, and I still love to do it, but I won't do it. Like if it's a little mental project that I'm doing, where all of a
Yeah,
sudden, hey, look, I'm the scenographer, I'm designing all of it, then I'll do it.
sure.
If it's professional work, I'm working with people, I won't. But I mean, sometimes I will. If I've got the figures and we've got the time, and obviously have the time is the huge thing.
Sure.
I will talk to a costume designer. I'm like, what colors are you thinking about for this, say, dress or whatever? And then I'll paint it and approve it with them, and then stick it on the set so they can see how it looks.
Sure.
But no, I never really have time for that anymore.
And you are by far the fastest illustrator I've ever met, like in my life. So if you don't have time for it, I don't know what your deadlines are like.
Oh man, I mean, I've had like 2-week deadlines and things like that. It's like, man, everybody always, it's like they want to wait. They want to wait. They don't want to lock anything in. It's like, we're going to talk. It's like, no,
they don't want to pay is what they don't want to do.
That's exactly what it is. But I mean, I do, if I'm designing something for fun, I do like to approach it like, if this were a story and I were illustrating it, what would each scene look like? And then, okay, so that's what I would want that to look like. This is what I would want this scene to look like. Now, how do I create a set and do all these things? And that's fun. I mean, that's like brain game, right? That's just me going, oh, this would be so much fun.
Sure.
I mean, that's like when you did Henry V, and you're sitting here designing. It's like he's going to walk out with no shirt on and tattoos.
Right.
But it should be fun, right? Like
sure.
we don't. If we weren't going to have fun, we'd do something very different. Like not all of it is fun, but overall, average. I feel like we should be having a good time.
Yeah, there are ways of doing more money, doing non-fun stuff. Like if you're gonna do theater and do it for whatever much it's paid, you might as well just have fun.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the things. It's like, and I do a lot of television now. The pay is so great. Because the professional theater, especially around here in Knoxville, like it's very fast. They're like, they want, and I know that whatever I design, I'm probably going to have to do a lot of the painting on it. I might have to do some of the building. I mean, I'm going to be working on it too. So I tend not to do so much. I mean, if it pops up and I think I could do it quickly and get it done and the pay is right, then I'll take it. But if the pay isn't right, then sometimes it's almost like it's a labor of love. But then if it's I mean, I can only do so many labors of love.
Yeah.
Like after a while, you're like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah, no, I'll garden as a labor of love. I'm not gonna design as a labor of love.
Right.
Fuck that.
I mean, I'm all about supporting local theater, but it's like, okay, but it's not charity.
Sure. All right, I feel like that's a good point to wrap it up. What do y'all think? I feel like we've been yapping on for way too long.
We could sit here and talk all day.
Sure. And we'll probably do another one. We'll probably do another one of these because this was fun.
We need that. So the next one, let's develop this idea. Here's my idea: theater of the obvious. If the play takes place in America, that means that the Statue of Liberty is automatically in the background.
All the time.
Period. The whole time, or Mount Rushmore.
Sure. Or both.
If it takes place in France, regardless of time period, the Eiffel Tower.
That's it. And if it takes place in two locations, you just do like a slideshow.
It's actually on a slider, and you have somebody pull it across, and you see like part of it, and then you pull it across, and you see and there's just somebody who's back there whose whole job is just to like every other line, like
to switch the location.
This is the new big theatrical movement, and it's meant to play to people's expectations.
Yeah. Sure. Hyper obvious. Yeah.
Like you can't even call it big stick theater because it's just so obvious that you're not even hitting people with it.
Right. Because if you call it big stick theater, you would have to have a big stick on stage the whole time. There you go.
And basically do that.
It's just a big stick that says the location on it. And
there
so you
have to
read the stick before you get hit over the head with it.
There you go. All right, Jason, thank you very much. Thank you for your time, man. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us. And we got to do this again, man.
That sounds good.
We just gotta. All right, that's it for today. Thank you, Jason, for sticking around with us. Thank you, Miranda. And thank you all at home for being here with us and for joining us off stage. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and, the whole thing. Bye.